listen closely. Because what I am about to reveal is not ordinary. It is a key that has been hidden in plain sight, a whisper from the infinite waiting for the one who dares to hear. You were not drawn here by accident. You were summoned. Something in your spirit has been aching, calling, reaching for more. And now the answer is standing before you in the form of a single sentence. Yes, one sentence, one vibration, one declaration so charged with divine authority that it can bend the unseen forces of wealth in your favor. But before you receive it, you must shed the heavy cloak you've been wearing. That cloak of lack. That cloak of unworthiness. That cloak of, maybe one day. You have carried those garments for too long, and they are not yours. They were sewn from other people's fears, stitched from generations of doubt, passed down like a curse. But today, in this moment, you are chosen to break it. You see, money has never been your enemy. It has been your shadow, following you, waiting for you to finally turn and acknowledge it. It has been knocking at the door, but your doubts were too loud to hear its call. Money is not cruel. Money is not scarce. Money is energy, and energy obeys the master who speaks with conviction. That master is you. You may have been told that you are powerless. You may have been told that you must suffer, struggle, and scrape your way toward survival. But hear me, that was a lie meant to keep you asleep, while your inheritance gathered dust in the vaults of the unseen. You were not born to beg. You were not born to chase. You were born to command. And command begins with a word spoken not from the lips alone, but from the soul. That is why this one sentence matters. Because when you speak it, the atmosphere shifts. When you speak it, the invisible currents of prosperity rearrange themselves around you. When you speak it, money hears your voice, and it recognizes you. But before I reveal it, pause and breathe. Feel the weight of this moment. Something inside you is stirring right now. The old self is trembling, afraid of what you are becoming. Let it tremble, because what you are about to receive will end the reign of lack in your life. You must know this: the universe does not reward wishful thinking. It responds to identity. It responds to certainty. It responds to the soul that dares to speak as though the promise is already fulfilled. That is why most people fail. They beg. They plead. They wait for proof before they declare. But you are different. You are called to declare before the evidence appears. For the evidence follows the declaration, not the other way around. So hear me. The moment you speak this one sentence with authority, you step into a higher order of being. You shift from seeker to magnet, from beggar to ruler, from one who hopes to one who commands. You will feel it, like fire in your chest, like lightning running through your veins. And as you speak it daily, boldly, faithfully, you will notice doors opening where walls once stood, money flowing in ways the logical mind could never predict, unexpected channels, divine connections, miraculous opportunities. But it begins here, with the courage to speak, with the willingness to accept your throne. So, are you ready? Are you ready to step out of the prison of lack and into the palace of abundance? Are you ready to command the flow of wealth instead of watching it slip through your fingers? Because the sentence I will give you is not just words, it is a decree. And when a decree is spoken by one who believes, the entire universe bows to fulfill it. So prepare yourself, still your doubts, open your heart, and lean in, because in the next breath, I will place in your hands the sentence that will unlock the floodgates of money itself. Money is not scarce, it is energy, waiting for the one who speaks with authority. You have been told a story since childhood, a story that whispered to you in schoolrooms, in dinner tables, in the sighs of tired parents who worried about bills. That story said that money was rare, that only a select few could touch it, that it must be chased, worked for, suffered for, sacrificed for. That story is the seed of lack, and it was planted in your mind so deeply that you grew up believing it was truth. But money does not live in scarcity. It does not vanish into the hands of others, leaving you with crumbs. It is infinite, circulating, moving, breathing like the wind, like the tides of the ocean. And just as the ocean does not apologize for its waves, money does not apologize for its flow. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed. This is the first law of the universe, and money obeys it as surely as fire obeys heat. Money is simply energy wearing a disguise. Pieces of paper, numbers on a screen, metal coins, contracts, possessions. But beneath all of it, it is vibration. When you speak of lack, you lower your vibration. When you declare abundance with certainty, you raise it. The energy of money recognizes vibration the way a magnet recognizes metal. It does not come because you wish for it desperately. It comes because you match its frequency and stand in the authority of one who already owns it. Think of the sun. The sun does not beg permission to shine. It radiates because shining is its identity. Likewise, money flows toward the one who shines with certainty, who embodies wealth before it is seen, who speaks from a place of knowing. The energy of money is drawn to power, not desperation. It answers to clarity, not confusion. It bends to the one who commands, not to the one who pleads. When you wake each day believing money is scarce, you are closing the gate through which it flows. You tighten your grip, you contract, you shrink. Scarcity is contraction. But when you understand that money is endless energy, you expand. You breathe deeper. You open your hands instead of clutching. And in that openness, you become a vessel, a current through which money can flow. The universe does not pour water into a closed cup. It pours into the one who is open, who trusts, who dares to receive. Authority is the language money speaks. Authority is not arrogance, nor is it entitlement. It is alignment. It is the recognition that you are not separate from abundance, but made of the same fabric. To speak with authority is to say, I no longer beg for what is already mine. I no longer wait for proof before I believe. I no longer see money as something outside of me, hiding in the shadows. I see it as energy that responds to my vibration. Imagine a conductor standing before an orchestra. The musicians wait, instruments poised. They do not move until the conductor lifts their hands with confidence. The moment that hand rises, the symphony begins. Money is that orchestra, waiting for the hand of your authority. It is listening for your declaration. But if you whisper with hesitation, if you doubt, the instruments remain silent. Authority is the hand that sets the music of wealth into motion. Your words are commands. Every sentence you speak is a decree. If you say, I can't afford this, the energy of money listens and obeys. If you say, money comes easily to me, it rearranges itself to match. The power of authority lies in choosing words that align with abundance instead of lack. The energy of money cannot resist authority spoken in truth. It does not question. It responds. You must understand. Authority is not given to you by the world. It is not earned by long hours or endless struggle. It was planted in you from birth. You carry it in your spirit. But the world has taught you to bury it, to doubt it, to cover it with false humility. Yet still it waits, glowing like an ember inside you, ready to burst into flame the moment you speak. The instant you speak with authority, money hears you. It rushes to you like metal to a magnet, like water to a thirsty ground. When you finally know that money is energy, you stop chasing and start attracting. You stop clinging to the illusion of scarcity and begin flowing with the truth of abundance. You become the source, not the seeker. You no longer wait for someone else to open the door. You speak, and the door dissolves. Money, being energy, obeys. It flows not to the one who hopes timidly, but to the one who commands boldly, the one who stands unshaken and says, I am aligned with wealth, and wealth is aligned with me. The cloak of lack and unworthiness must be shed before abundance can be claimed. For too long, you have been wearing garments that were never meant for you. Heavy fabrics of fear, woven from the voices of those who said you were not enough. Threads of doubt stitched together by society, culture, and even family, handed down as if poverty was an inheritance you were destined to bear. You did not choose this cloak, yet you carried it as though it belonged to your very skin. You wore it in silence, believing the lie that struggle was holy, that suffering was noble, that wealth was reserved for others while you stood outside the gates, peering in. But here this abundance cannot rest on a soul that still hides beneath the garments of shame. The cloak of lack blinds the eyes. It makes you believe in shadows instead of light. It convinces you that opportunities are rare, that money is for a chosen few, that life is a battlefield where only the strongest survive. It whispers that you must prove your worth before you can receive, that you must sacrifice endlessly before you are allowed to taste joy. And in wearing this cloak, you dim your radiance, shrinking into the corners of life, apologizing for wanting more. But the truth is simple: lack is not your identity, it is only a costume, a false covering placed upon you so that you would forget your original power. Unworthiness is the weight that holds the cloak in place. It fastens itself around your shoulders with invisible chains, convincing you that you must stay small. How many times have you spoken words of lack, not because you believed them, but because unworthiness told you it was safer to expect little? How many times have you sabotaged opportunities because the cloak whispered that you were not ready, not qualified, not chosen? This cloak does not just cover you. It suffocates you, cutting off the flow of abundance that longs to move through your life. But abundance is your birthright. You were not born empty. You were born full of divine inheritance, overflowing with the energy of creation itself. A child does not enter the world questioning whether it deserves to breathe. It breathes freely, naturally, without hesitation. In the same way, you were born to receive, born to prosper, born to walk in wealth and freedom. The cloak of lack was placed upon you by the world, but it does not define you. To claim abundance, you must strip it away. Shedding the cloak begins in the mind. It begins when you recognize the lies for what they are. Scarcity is a belief, not a reality. Unworthiness is a story, not a truth. The moment you see that you are not the cloak, you begin to loosen its grip. You begin to feel the weight fall from your shoulders. You begin to remember who you were before the cloak was placed on you. Radiant, whole, infinite. Imagine standing in front of a mirror. For years, you have seen yourself only through the dark veil of this garment. You thought the cloak was part of your skin, part of your identity. But now, as you reach for it, you realize it can be removed. You peel it away, thread by thread, doubt by doubt, fear by fear. As it falls, light pours from you. The mirror reflects a being clothed not in shame, but in power. Not in poverty, but in majesty. The cloak was never yours. It was borrowed, temporary, ill-fitting. And when you let it go, your true essence is revealed. When the cloak falls, abundance recognizes you. It had been circling, waiting, searching for the one who would dare to step out uncovered. Because abundance does not move toward those who hide beneath false coverings. It moves toward authenticity, toward the one who stands in the naked truth of worthiness. To shed the cloak is to stand before life and say, I am enough as I am. I am worthy of wealth. I am worthy of joy. I am worthy of miracles. And in that declaration, the cloak loses all power. It disintegrates, returning to the dust of forgotten lies. In its place, a new garment is woven, not of fear, but of faith. Not of lack, but of abundance. It is light, radiant, shimmering with the colors of prosperity. You wear it not as armor, but as a crown, for you no longer need to protect yourself from life. You are aligned with it, flowing with it, embraced by it. Every step you take without the cloak is lighter. Every word you speak without it carries more authority. Opportunities recognize you, doors open for you, and wealth flows toward you. Because now you are not hiding, now you are not apologizing. You are standing in your divine worth, unashamed, unafraid, uncloaked. The universe does not respond to begging. It responds to identity and certainty. How many times have you cried out for more, asking with desperation, pleading with life to give you a breakthrough? How many nights have you whispered prayers that sounded more like bargaining than believing? And yet the heavens remained silent, not because they were deaf, not because they were cruel, but because begging carries no power. Begging is the language of separation, the voice of someone who does not know who they are. The universe does not respond to the sound of lack, it responds to the resonance of truth. It listens for the vibration of one who knows, one who stands, one who declares with the authority of identity. Identity is the root of manifestation. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. Wanting is weakness, it is hunger without fulfillment, it is the confession of absence. But being is fullness, it is wholeness, it is the confession of completion. When you stand in the truth of identity, you no longer ask as a beggar, you speak as a king, as a queen, as one aligned with the very order of abundance. The universe bends to that kind of certainty, because it recognizes itself in you. Certainty is not arrogance. Certainty is alignment. It is knowing that you are a spark of the infinite, that wealth flows through you as naturally as breath. When you are certain, you do not watch the clock, wondering when your blessing will arrive. You live as though it is already here, because in truth, it is. Certainty shifts your tone, your posture, your energy. It moves you from hoping to commanding, from waiting to creating. The universe is not moved by the tears of fear, but by the fire of conviction. Think of a seed planted in the soil. It does not beg the earth to let it grow. It does not cry out each day for sunlight or rain. It simply carries within itself the certainty of becoming. The seed knows that it contains the tree, and because it knows, the earth responds, the sky responds, life itself bends to its becoming. So it is with you. When you live in the certainty of abundance, the elements of life rearrange themselves to make it so. Begging says, I am separate from what I seek. Identity says, I already am what I seek. Certainty says, it is done. These are not just words, they are frequencies, and the universe is a mirror that reflects them back. If you speak lack, you see lack. If you speak fullness, you experience fullness. That is why certainty is magnetic. It pulls to you the people, the resources, the money, the opportunities that align with the truth you carry within. Every time you beg, you reinforce the idea that you are powerless. You tell life that you do not believe in your own authority. But when you stand and declare, you awaken forces beyond the scene. Certainty carries a sound, a vibration, an echo that cannot be ignored. It is the voice of creation speaking through you. The same voice that spoke galaxies into existence. The same voice that said, let there be. And there was. That voice still lives in you, waiting to be used not in begging, but in commanding. The reason many fail in attracting abundance is because they try to mix begging with belief. They speak affirmations with their lips, but in their hearts they still feel unworthy, still feel separate, still hope instead of no. But the universe cannot be tricked. It does not respond to words alone. It responds to the vibration underneath them. If your identity is rooted in lack, no amount of words will produce wealth. But if your identity is rooted in abundance, even your silence radiates prosperity. Certainty is a posture. It is walking into the room as though you belong, because you do. It is opening your hands as though they are already full, because they are. It is speaking of wealth not as a future event, but as a present reality. Certainty carries itself differently. It does not chase, it attracts. It does not doubt, it knows. And that knowing is the key that unlocks doors others cannot even see. The universe is listening to you right now. Not just to what you are saying, but to what you are being. It hears the vibration of your identity. Do you sound like a beggar? Or do you sound like a ruler? Do you sound like one who hopes, or one who commands? The difference is not in your words, but in your certainty. The universe is not withholding from you. It is waiting for you to speak with the voice of who you truly are, to step into the authority you were born with, to shed the begging tone, and embrace the identity of abundance itself. A single decree spoken with conviction can realign the invisible currents of wealth. Words are not empty sounds, they are forces, they are commands, they are vibrations that strike the unseen and ripple through dimensions you cannot yet see with your eyes. Every sentence you speak becomes a seed, planted in the fertile soil of the universe, and the harvest comes not because you wished, but because you decreed. A decree is not the same as a wish. A wish is fragile, uncertain, trembling in the winds of doubt. But a decree is thunder. It is lightning. It is the roar of spirit declaring what is already true. When you decree, you do not ask politely. You do not whisper as though you are unsure. You speak with the authority of one who knows the power behind them. The universe is wired to obey certainty, to respond to conviction, to bend to the vibration of a decree. All of creation moves in response to command, not hesitation. The ocean does not ask permission to rise as the tide. The stars do not request approval to shine. They move because they are decreeing their identity in every moment, and the same law rests within you. You have been given a voice, not merely to describe your world, but to shape it. Your decree is the chisel that carves reality, the compass that redirects the flow of energy. When spoken with conviction, a single decree can turn the current of scarcity into a river of abundance. It can call forth opportunities that were hidden, summon connections that seemed impossible, and magnetize money from sources you could never imagine. For the invisible world is more real than the visible, and when your words strike it, reality must rearrange itself to match. The difference between a casual statement and a decree is the spirit behind it. Many speak words of abundance, but they speak them as though testing, as though experimenting, as though trying to convince themselves. That is not a decree. That is hesitation disguised as hope. But when you decree, you speak as one who does not doubt, one who does not waver. Conviction is the fire that ignites the decree, the breath that gives it life. Without conviction, words fall flat. With conviction, they burn through the atmosphere and summon reality into being. Imagine standing on the shore of a vast sea. The waves are chaotic, the waters restless. You could watch them, you could fear them, you could even beg them to calm. But nothing changes until you decree. Until you lift your voice with authority and declare, "Peace, be still," and suddenly the sea obeys. The invisible currents of life are no different. They swirl, they shift, they resist until a voice of authority commands them. One decree with conviction, and the chaos becomes order, the scattered becomes aligned, the closed becomes open. The energy of money listens for decrees. It does not respond to faint hopes or timid words. It responds to the sound of sovereignty, to the vibration of one who speaks, as though creation itself is their ally. When you decree abundance, you are not asking money to come. You are commanding it to align with you. You are summoning it from the unseen to the seen, from the invisible into form. And money obeys, because money is energy, and energy is bound by the law of command. This is why so many repeat affirmations and see no change. They speak words without the flame of conviction. They recite sentences like empty rituals, disconnected from the authority of identity. A decree is not about how many times you say it. It is about the certainty with which you say it once. One decree spoken with true conviction carries more power than 1,000 repetitions said with doubt. The universe does not count your words, it measures your belief. Conviction is born when you finally know that what you decree is not outside of you, but already within you. You are not commanding from emptiness. You are commanding from fullness. You are not calling wealth from a distant place. You are releasing wealth from the reservoir that has always been inside your spirit. That is why the decree works. It awakens the truth within you and extends it into the world around you. The invisible currents of wealth are like rivers waiting to be redirected. They flow aimlessly until a decree cuts a new channel. And once that decree is spoken with authority, the current shifts. Money begins to flow where it never flowed before. Doors swing open that were locked. Circumstances bend in your favor. People appear at the right time, carrying the very resources you once thought impossible. It is not coincidence. It is the decree realigning the currents of your life. To decree is to remember who you are. To decree is to stop begging and start commanding. To decree is to speak as though heaven itself has placed its seal upon your words. And when you speak with such conviction, the unseen bows to your voice. The invisible rearranges, and the currents of wealth rush to obey the sound of your authority. You are not born to chase money. You are born to command it as your inheritance. From the moment you entered this world, life breathed into you not the spirit of desperation, but the spirit of dominion. Yet somewhere along the way, the world taught you to run after money as if it were a distant prize, forever ahead of you, forever slipping through your hands. They told you that to have money you must sacrifice joy, abandon peace, grind yourself to exhaustion, and only then might you deserve a fraction of abundance. But this was a distortion, a shadow cast to blind you from the truth. The truth is that money was never meant to be chased. Chasing is the posture of the unknowing, the act of one who has forgotten their divine authority. Command is the posture of remembrance, the stance of one who knows that wealth is not earned by pursuit, but summoned by presence. When you chase money, you give it power over you. You crown it as master, while you run as servant. You place it above your head and beneath your reach, so that no matter how hard you stretch, it seems always a step away. Chasing money is an admission of separation. The belief that money lives outside you, and must be captured before it can belong to you. But you cannot capture what is already yours. You can only command it into manifestation. Command is not arrogance. Command is not greed. Command is alignment. It is the voice of one who knows that wealth is their birthright, their inheritance, their natural state of being. When a king enters his treasury, he does not beg the guards to let him in. He does not chase his gold around the room. He speaks, he declares, he claims, and it is his. In the same way, money responds to you not when you chase it, but when you remember that you are already the heir of abundance. Chasing breeds exhaustion. Command breeds ease. Chasing keeps you in cycles of scarcity, running in circles without arrival. Command brings money to your feet, magnetized by the certainty of your vibration. You are not meant to be the hunter, you are meant to be the attractor. For money is not prey, it is energy, and energy does not yield to pursuit. It yields to authority. Consider the sun again. The sun does not chase the planets to keep them in orbit. It stands in its own radiance, in its own gravity, and the planets cannot help but revolve around it. This is the law of command. The sun shines because shining is its nature, and by shining it commands the entire system into order. You are no different. When you stand in your radiance, in your certainty, in your inheritance, money cannot help but revolve around you. It is pulled into your orbit by the gravity of your authority. So many live their lives like desperate runners, sweating, striving, exhausting themselves for a paycheck, for scraps, for temporary relief. They do not realize that the more they chase, the more money runs. For chasing carries with it the energy of lack, and lack repels abundance. But when you stop running, when you plant your feet in the soil of worthiness, when you speak with the voice of command, everything shifts. Money begins to move toward you, not away from you. Opportunities chase you. Favor finds you. Wealth seeks you. Command begins in identity. You cannot command if you do not know who you are. If you see yourself as unworthy, your command is weak. If you see yourself as powerless, your words carry no weight. But when you see yourself as heir, as ruler, as divine creation, your command is law. The universe does not resist the voice of one who speaks in alignment with truth. It bends, it obeys, it arranges, because your authority is recognized. There is a difference between asking and commanding. Asking says, "Please, may I have?" Commanding says, "This is mine, and it comes now." Asking places the power outside of you. Commanding acknowledges the power within you. Asking leaves you at the mercy of chance. Commanding places you at the center of creation. The reason many fail is not because money is far from them, but because they have forgotten to speak as rulers. They ask as beggars instead of commanding as heirs. You are born to rule over money, not to be ruled by it. It is a servant, not a master. It is a tool, not a tyrant. When you understand this, your entire relationship with wealth transforms. No longer will you bow to money, fearing its absence. No longer will you run after it, panting with desperation. You will stand still, clothed in your inheritance, and money will recognize its rightful place, at your command. To command money is not to misuse it. It is to direct it with wisdom, to channel it toward purpose, to allow it to expand your life and bless others. Chasing money leads to greed and fear, but commanding money leads to peace and generosity. For when you know money is always at your call, you no longer cling to it. You release it freely, knowing more will return. The inheritance of wealth is already written in your spirit. It cannot be stolen, cannot be erased, cannot be denied. It can only be forgotten. But the moment you remember, the moment you stand in authority and speak with conviction, the chains of chasing break, and the throne of command is restored. Evidence always follows the declaration, never precedes it. This is the mystery of creation, the law written into the bones of the universe, a law that cannot be broken. Yet most people wait for evidence before they speak. They wait for proof before they believe, for numbers in their account before they claim wealth, for doors to open before they declare that they are chosen. And in their waiting, they delay the very manifestation they long for. For evidence is never the cause, it is only the effect. The declaration comes first, and only then does the world rearrange itself to display what has already been spoken into being. To demand evidence before declaring is to live as a shadow of your power. It is to place faith in what is seen instead of what is unseen, to walk by sight instead of spirit. But the truth is simple: the unseen creates the seen. The invisible precedes the visible. Spirit precedes matter. A decree spoken with conviction sends ripples into the invisible world, and those ripples harden into reality. The evidence appears, but only after the declaration has been made. Think of a farmer. He does not stand in his barren field demanding crops before planting seeds. He plants first, he waters first, he trusts first. And then, in time, the earth yields its evidence. To live in the flow of abundance is no different. You declare the harvest before you see the stalks. You decree prosperity before the numbers shift. You walk as wealthy before the wealth appears, for you know that evidence follows identity. This is why the language of command is so powerful. When you declare boldly, "I am wealthy," money flows to me with ease. You are not lying to yourself. You are creating the reality that will soon appear as evidence. Doubt asks, "But where is the proof?" Faith answers, "The proof will follow." Doubt looks at the empty space and sees lack. Faith looks at the same space and sees the blueprint of abundance unfolding. The difference between the two is the order of operations. Doubt waits for evidence to begin believing, but faith declares first and watches evidence align. Most people fail because they reverse the law. They sit in silence, waiting for a sign before they speak. They wait for circumstances to shift before they allow themselves to feel abundant. They wait for opportunities to appear before they dare to step into identity. But the universe does not respond to hesitation. It responds to boldness. It responds to certainty. The declaration is the spark that ignites the fire. Without the spark, there is no flame, and without the flame, there is no warmth. Evidence is always late to the party. It comes as a witness, not as the origin. It arrives after the command has been given, after the decree has been spoken, after the vibration has been set in motion. When you understand this, you stop chasing proof and start creating it. You stop asking life to show you before you act, and you act knowing life will catch up to your words. This is the posture of authority, the stance of one who knows the law. Imagine standing before a locked door. You could wait, hoping it will one day open by chance, or you could speak with conviction. This door opens for me now. Your words carry the energy of command, and the lock must yield. The opening is the evidence, but the declaration was the cause. Without the declaration, the door would remain shut. Without the declaration, nothing moves. This is the reason the prophets, the mystics, the great teachers of old always spoke in the language of, "Let there be." They did not ask timidly. They did not wait for signs. They declared, and reality shifted. "Let there be light," and light appeared. The evidence was light, but the cause was the decree. The pattern is eternal and unchanging: first the word, then the manifestation. First the declaration, then the evidence. You must train yourself to live in this order. Stop demanding to see before you believe. Stop shrinking because the evidence is not yet visible. Do not let the absence of proof convince you of the absence of power. Your words are the architects, the designers, the builders. Evidence is the finished house, but the blueprint was always your declaration. When you wake in the morning, do not look at your bank account and let numbers dictate your worth. Speak first. Declare first. Say, money flows to me now. Wealth surrounds me. Abundance obeys my voice. The account will shift later, but the shift begins with your words. When you face obstacles, do not bow before them, waiting for them to move on their own. Speak first. Declare, this mountain moves. And in time, the mountain obeys. The movement is the evidence, but the command was the seed. The universe waits on your words. It holds infinite abundance, infinite opportunities, infinite channels of provision, but it will not pour them into your life until you decree. Not because it withholds from you, but because the law is set. Evidence must follow the declaration. The declaration is permission. It is the key that unlocks the vault. Without the key, the treasure remains hidden. But the moment you speak with authority, the vault opens and the evidence flows.